Hello, welcome to a Talk Nintendo Mini, and we are here with some of the people from Zoink Games that have made games such as Stick It to the Man, the upcoming Flipping Death, and a lot of beautiful games. We're here with Alexandra Dahlberg.
Yeah, hi.
And next to her, we have Mikael Forslind.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then on our end, I'm Perry Burkum, and then I'm also joined by fellow Nintendo World Report staffer David Lloyd.
Good morning.
Guten Morgen. So let's start it off. So we're gonna be mostly talking about Stick It to the Man today, since it's releasing like now when you hear this. It's an amazing game that I've always been a fan of ever since I knew it was on the radar to come to Wii U back in those days. I was following it, and then it came out, and I've loved it ever since. And I'm so happy it's coming to Switch. And basically, we're going to talk about that. And first off, Alexandra and Mikael, why don't you just tell us who you are, what you do for Zoink?
Yeah, sure. I'm Alex, as you said it. I'm the community manager at Zoink. So if you ever talk to us on Twitter or Facebook or check out our YouTube videos, I'll be there. So that's my main job, I guess, and then a little bit of that around the office as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I'm Michael, and I do publishing, marketing, and PR, and I'm also like the office manager. So
He gets the coffee.
yeah, I'm the one who makes sure we have enough coffee and everything, computers and stuff like that.
So you're the most important part of the team.
Yeah,
Yes,
definitely.
exactly. Making sure everyone gets their work done. But mostly I do like the marketing and publishing, making sure we get the games out and on the correct platforms. But I work very closely with Alexandra, so yeah.
You ever have those mixed up where you're like, oh no, we accidentally released it on the Xbox One. We meant to do on the Switch.
Not yet.
Well, we haven't done any like major mistakes, but like we're releasing tomorrow. When we're recording this tomorrow, the game will be out, and we just now heard back from Nintendo that they didn't approve something which we assumed were approved, and now we're doing some really last minute fix, which got us really scared. So
Oh no.
the process of this podcast recording, we're fixing stuff as we're doing this on another computer. So exactly when this is over, we're going to finish and make sure everything works for tomorrow. So we're a little stressed for tomorrow, but I think it's going to work out fine.
It's always like this the day before release, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I think one of the main things that sticks out, I think, to anyone, if you were to ask anyone about this game, is the art direction and the whole feel of the game. The art direction combined with the music direction. But before we get into that, why don't you pitch the game to the viewers of exactly what it is, what kind of game it is, what you do, stuff like that.
Sure. Stick to the Man is a platform puzzler, we call it. In one sense, like a traditional platformer where you jump and run around, but it's also a lot of puzzle parts to it. And what you do is you play as Ray, who one day gets hit in the head by a mysterious object. And when he wakes up, he's acquired the power to mind read people. So you can run around, and there are like almost 200 characters in the game, I believe. And you can mind read all of them to get clues about the puzzles or to get a grasp of what they're thinking about. There's also a bunch of stickers in the game that you can use. So if someone says Michael is thinking about coffee, then he will get a coffee sticker hanging over his head, and I can grab that coffee and give it to someone who's really tired. So that's why I like the way you solve puzzles in the game.
Yeah, I mean, in the stickers and whatnot, it's set up like a diorama type view, very Paper Mario-esque. I'm sure that, but with a completely different art style. And then there's actually three kind of things that I've playing through it again that I've noticed that I kind of want to talk about these sets of things that work together so well. with the game. And I guess the first one and the most obvious is the art direction plus the sound, the music and sound direction. How those fuse together like perfectly.
Hey, listen, do me a favor. I kinda didn't think this through.
Obviously.
And I left the handbrake on in the car.
To create, I mean, they're always piggybacking off each other. I mean, the voice acting is phenomenal. And I guess when you're playing the game, you know, a big part of an adventure type game is, you know, reading or the story. And I guess it's amazing how well they work together with, you know, with how funny the dialogue is and how well the voice acting is.
Yeah, I mean, we've been working with the same voice actors. The voice actors we hired from To Stick It to the Man are the same people we are still working with today. So we were fortunate to find really talented voice actors, and we've been working with them for a lot of years. And there's so many, as you said, there's so many voices and different characters in Stick It to the Man, and a lot of the weird dialogue just comes from their good reading from the lines and the scripts of the game.
Yeah. I think some of the voice actors do like 20 characters. So there's like a bunch of them that they are like 20% of the of the cast is voiced by the same voice actor, and that's really cool.
Oh yeah, I always like, you know, if you're a fan of The Simpsons or stuff, it's like all the Simpsons characters are voiced by two people. No, not really, but yeah, it seems like that.
But it's interesting that you say that it feels like everything fits together. That's really nice, because actually a lot of these people have never met. I know Joel, our musician, he didn't work from this office at the time. He worked from his own studio away from here. And the voice actors are all in the United States or UK and stuff like that. So it's really been coming together through the internet a lot and phone calls and stuff like this. So it's really cool that you still managed to get that sense of
atmosphere.
Yeah.
I was actually interested in how like you must have like one main director that put it together. Then if it was all kind of done separately, eh?
Yeah. That's Klaus, our CEO, is the creative director for both Stick It and Zombie Vikings and now Flipping Death. So he's like the guy who puts it all together in the last stage.
Yeah.
And then, like, you know, with the writing and voice acting work together, I mean, like, and it's so funny, like, you know, just playing through, I've already legitimately had laugh out loud moments. I mean, it's a very funny, well-written game. I mean, I like, you know, just at the very beginning when you're talking to the pirate, the skeleton pirate, and he's like, "I'd be glad to lend ye a hand," and then, you know, and he gives you his hand, and then as you're walking away, he just starts laughing because he realized the pun that he created. I didn't even mean to do that, you know. It's just very, very funny, and I've heard. I mean, is it Stick It to the Man that I've heard that has the same some writers from Adventure Time? Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, it's actually the writer of Adventure Time and Squirrel Girl, and he's done
Dinosaur
Comics. He's doing the new not the Archie comic about the guy with the black hair. What's he called in Archie Comics? Oh yeah, he's doing that as well. So he's doing a lot of stuff.
Cool. And
yeah, you go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, yeah, it's Ryan North, and we're also hiring him to write Flipping Death, which is the current game we're working on as well.
Yes.
So
wonderful.
We were so happy with his work from Stick It to the Man that we hired him for Flipping Death. So it's a really talented guy, and his humor is very, very funny.
Yeah.
The way we work is that Klaus, like our creative director and CEO here at Zoink, he normally writes like the main script and how the chapters are set and what should happen in each chapter, and then we send it off to Ryan North, and he makes it like, since we're not native fluent in English, like English isn't our main language. Ryan North takes the script and just makes it a lot more funnier and adds more quirkiness and fun stuff to it.
Oh,
He
cool.
does the dialogue,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, exactly. The dialogue.
Yeah. And then before we move on, from I guess the atmospheric, world that it is, what would you call that? I mean, do you guys have a name that you coined for the style of art that it is? Or that you've used, with your game Flipping Death and Zombie Vikings, and I don't know, have you?
Zoink style.
Yeah, I mean, we try to make it like a Zoink style, because when we showed Flipping Death, people immediately went, "Oh, that looks like Stick It to the Man." So in that sense, we tried to build like the Zoink brand, in that sense that we have our certain style which we try to use in our games. Although Faye, which is another game we're working on, also has a completely different art style. It's
Yeah.
still, in that sense,
Yeah.
an unusual style.
And are the artists in house, or do you use someone outside for those as well?
No, everything is in house. I mean, we're almost 30 people now in the team. When we made Stick It to the Man, we were around 7 or 8, I think, and now we're around 30. So we've grown a lot for the last 4 years or so. But everyone's in house. We have a few like people that helps out with the small animations, and we have a sound guy who makes sounds who's not in house, but the main team is in house, and
Yeah, all the art is in-house.
yeah, all the artists.
Very cool. Now, yeah, before we kind of get into the history of Stick It to the Man, I guess I just want to touch. You mentioned that it is. I think first and foremost, it's an adventure game, but it's also a platformer. I would really put it, like I said, to Paper Mario. It feels a lot like that. Sometimes it's strictly 2D, but and then most of the time you have some depth as well. You can move around and jump around, and then you can also use your spaghetti hand to grab stuff and fling you places. So I feel like if people are wondering, I think some people are, adventure games just aren't their thing if they're used to a different style of games, and just pointing out that there actually is a lot, like even there's like stealth sections kind of where you have to avoid the guys trying to get you, and as you traverse the environment and stuff, and yeah, it's just a kind of a cool blend of those two genres. So, but getting into Stick It to the Man, yeah, I mean, like, how did this start? How did the game start? Like, who thought of it?
It's I'm not sure. I mean, I think it was Klaus' idea originally, but we also have another creative director called Andreas, which I know they worked a lot on Stick It to the Man together.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure exactly who thought of what, but I think it was a collaboration between the two of them. And
Gotcha.
This was around 2012, I think the idea was conceived. I'm not sure actually.
It was like this from the start. We were supposed to do, or we weren't here at the time, but we were supposed to do a Kickstarter campaign to make Stick It to the Man. And there's actually a Kickstarter video prepared and everything. But then we happened upon Ripstone, which was a new company at the time, who decided they wanted to publish the game for us. So the Kickstarter never came. So
were you happy? Were you happy about that? I mean,
yeah, I think that was a relief for Klaus and the gang who were here at the time, because a Kickstarter is always a risk. If you don't get it up and running in a good way, it won't reflect good on the game. So this was like the safer bet, and it was our first real big title. We made some mobile games and stuff like that before, but it was quite nice to have a publisher backing the project.
Yeah. I mean, do they have they published it for the Switch version as well?
No, we're self-publishing.
Okay.
How did how did it come about? Like, did they meet you at a conference, like see your game at a conference, or? I'm just curious how the relationship kind of started.
Actually, I don't know. Do you know? I don't know how they met.
No, we started here like 2 years later, I think. So we're a little bit, we're not really into the details. But I think Klaus knew someone who was, he has previously worked with someone who was one of the people who started up Ripstone. and they reached out and asked about the project, and then they were on their way.
Yeah, I mean they've been publishing. They published. They have a good relationship, I think, with Nintendo now. I mean, they are still publishing and stuff, but yeah, it's cool that you're self-publishing. We are interested, or I am, and I guess David is too. What is the most like successful console for Stick It to the Man? Like, what do you know? Like, what audience the bigger audience is?
Switch, we hope.
Yeah, I was going to say that as well. Switch, but yeah, I mean, Stick It to the Man on PS4 was included on the PS Plus. It's called like the free.
Gotcha.
You get a free game each month, and that was around 2014, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So I mean, we had almost, well, I think 1.5 million downloads. So if you count users, PlayStation 4 is by far our most successful platform.
Right.
But since it was free, it's when it comes to revenue, it's a whole new, it's a whole other question, which I'm not sure, because Ripstone is the one who takes care of the publishing. But after Stick It to the Man, we did Zombie Vikings, and that was our first self-published game, and that was the first venture into self-publishing, which is something we wanted to continue with. That's why we're self-publishing the Switch version of Stick It to the Man. So all the other ports are Ripstone, but the Switch version we're handling ourselves, like making the port in-house and doing all the marketing. It's me and Alexandra does that, and we making sure everything gets published. And
a lot more work for you.
It is, but it's
that's why they hired us.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I mean, so did you ever have any? So I don't think you didn't self-publish anything on Wii U then, right? I mean, that was all Ripstone. Yeah. So.
That was.
Well, I think you've dodged a bullet. From what I've heard the Switch is a lot easier to publish, or just in general to work on, which is cool. So, yeah, I mean, you know, when you originally said that, you know, introduced Flipping Death, I think I remember seeing it first in the Nindy video showcase.
Yeah.
Is that where it debuted? That's at least where I heard it first.
That's where I saw it first.
Yeah.
It was.
And I was instantly, you know, hyped for that. And so,
that's good.
But the first thing I thought was, well, are they going to bring Stick It to the Man to the Switch? You know, so, and
a lot of people asking about that.
Yeah. And I just, it's funny because I just remember, you know, hearing about this on when it was coming to Wii U. And then I remember I was at Best Buy, and I was walking around, and I looked down, and I see Stick It to the Man for PS4, like in a physical game. And I was like, what the heck? Like, I was like, dang it. Like, I want this. I'm not going to buy it for a system I don't own, but I want to buy it physically for a system I don't own. So is that going to happen at all on this? I mean, you know, limited run games. Hello.
Yeah, we definitely want to do a physical version. We would like to have a physical version of all our games. We've had so far, right?
Sorry, we have.
So far, we had a physical version on
yes,
not on all platforms,
on
but
at
on
least
all the
one
games.
platform.
So we're definitely working on making that happen for Stick It as well. So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, we would love to make physical copies of our games, but can't really confirm anything today.
Right.
Who knows? Who knows what will happen?
Gotcha. 100% confirmed is what you're saying.
It certainly seems like there's a lot of like behind the scenes stuff just to get to the physical copy. Like, was reading about the new ESRB requirements and stuff like that. That, like, it just sounds like a lot of red tape.
Yeah, I mean, compared to like, I haven't worked in the gaming industry. I've just worked for a couple of years, so I haven't worked with that many games. But nowadays, like, if things align properly, there shouldn't be that much work getting the game out on physical. It's just you need to construct a box, of course, and hopefully you'll be able to add something extra in the box. But normally, like, you can use kind of the same build you submitted for the digital version, so you don't have to make a separate build in that sense. Well, just tiny small changes in the physical, but it's so much easier now with the Switch doing physical. So we hopefully have something fun planned for the future, but once again, can't confirm anything.
Gotcha. So it's going to be a Flipping Death, Stick It to the Man, Zombie Vikings trilogy on. Okay, confirmed.
On all platforms.
Yeah, I mean, I remember playing on Wii U. They had some interesting things with the gamepad, with the motion, and you could like kind of read people's minds, right? With the gamepad, right?
Yeah.
Am I remembering that correctly?
Yes.
And I feel like now on the Switch, it kind of feels like this really tight package. And it's funny because our on staff who's reviewing it, he mentioned this, Xander. He mentioned this in the chat, and I was going to bring it up too. The HD Rumble that you implemented is amazing because while you're playing, that little spaghetti hand comes out and it reaches and it's just tickling brains of people, and it feels like you're tickling the brains with the HD Rumble. It's amazing. And it's funny because it popped out to me, and then he mentioned it to me. I was like, yeah, I know. Isn't that amazing? So I thought that was really cool.
Thank you.
That's great. We actually got the first feedback that I've heard the other day on Twitter, who also really liked the HD Rumble. So it's fun to hear people are enjoying it.
Yeah, because I mean that was introduced, and I love the idea of like having this feedback into your hand that that you can, to get you more into the game. And people haven't really done too much with that yet. Nintendo did the 1-2 switch thing with kind of the ball rolling, and I feel like there is some cool stuff. And I've just been doing it on a Pro controller, and I'm sure it's probably better even with the Joy-Cons. But yeah, that's.
It's even it seems like it's even a little bit difficult implementing because I know there's been a couple developers that have the HD Rumble, but seem to have trouble making it work properly. Like there's not to name names, but there was a couple where it was so loud, it wasn't more of a rumble, it was more of a screech.
Oh yeah, on Snake Pass.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean,
so it's nice that so obviously the guys that you have working on it seem to have a good grasp of how to do it well.
Yeah.
It took some time though, because I remember playing one of the earlier versions a few months ago, and it was so much rumble. So I was playing for 10 minutes, and it felt like I had pain in both my hands after I was like, could we take down the rumble a little? Because my whole body was shaking. So I know Patrick, who's the programmer, or the lead programmer of the Stick It Switch version, he said he spent a lot of time actually, refining how much rumble to add. Should we add more, add less? It took a lot of time to get in that perfectly right. But I thought it worked really well. I mean, if you feel it, then you actually felt the rumble, but it wasn't too much, I think.
Right. Yeah. So, that's a really fun thing because like I said, the game is really incredible. I am ecstatic to be talking with you guys about it because I'm such a fan of this game. I always have been. So, but you do have some future new Switchbound endeavors coming to the platform, and I want to talk about those. So, most coming up is Flipping Death, I think, right? Or is that?
Faye is actually coming first.
Oh, Faye's coming first. Okay, talk about Faye. And this is the F-E, but you said it's Faye. I was waiting for you to say it first.
Well, I said it in English now, kind of.
You could say it however you want, actually. It's a story behind the title. It's Fiha means fairy in Swedish. Since we're Swedish, it actually means fairy. So it's a Swedish word, just Fiha. But you can say Faye or Fee or...
No, I want to say it how it's supposed to be said. So how do you say it? Fiha? Fiha.
Almost like fear, but without the...
If I was British, I would say Fiha.
Yeah, something
like fear, but without the R, fee.
Yeah,
okay, gotcha. Fiha.
Yeah.
That's how I'm gonna say it from now on.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I'm a stickler on names. But okay, yeah. So
to follow the discussion about what it meant when we announced it.
Yeah, I saw that video.
Iron or
Yeah, it's a lot of discussion about the name, but it's fun because it's a usual name, so hopefully it sticks with people. But it's also it has a name and it has a meaning to it, and it also has a story to it. So, but it's a hard word to choose because not everyone knows what it means, and it's hard to Google and stuff like that. So we've been discussing the name a lot, but I think it's a good name. It's a cool name.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of really neat things about Fiha, and first of all, like when you announced this, and I heard the thing that was confusing to me was I was like, okay, I'm hearing Zoink, but I'm looking at this game, and I'm like, this isn't Zoink. This doesn't have the Zoink art style at all, you know, and it looks completely different, you know. It almost, I mean, from looking at like the launch trailer, it looks like a Zelda, like a 3D Zelda type game. When looking at it. So what is this game?
It's I mean, in its core, it's like a 3D platformer, but it's so much more than that. It's like at the start of the game, you just wake up in a forest and you don't know anything why you got there and what happened to you, and you're just let out on this adventure in this dark forest without little or no hand holding. You realize more and more about what happened to yourself, and you make your own discoveries, so to speak. So it's a game that's, although it plays like a 3D platformer, it's almost like an exploration of the forest, an exploration of how you react and how you connect with the forest. So you can run around in the forest, jump through trees and glide, but you can also talk to animals. So it's also about connecting with them, and they will learn you new abilities, and you will use those animals to befriend them and progress through the game. But it's also a game that kind of leaves you wondering about your own thoughts about nature. So normally in Zoink we make this like silly, funny games with a lot of humor to it, but this is completely different. It is more of almost a journey-like experience in the forest.
It's also, you say talking, but say talking, but it's actually there's no actual words in the game, which is very special for us on games, because we usually have a lot of words, a lot of people saying lots of weird stuff. But this is a much more silent experience, or there's a lot of music in there and a lot of sounds, but it's very much more, a lot more subtle than the usual Zoink experience.
Yeah, it's like normally we have like our localization cost and voice acting cost are through the roof, but for Fiha, we're like the only text we have is basically like start game and like the credits and stuff like that. We have a few like in game prompts, but it's literally no text at all in the game. So it was a challenge designing a game which allows you to play for a lot of hours in a whole world without, you know, actually telling the player where to go. So we spent a lot of time getting that perfectly right, and I think we have.
And I still feel very much that it's that it's a Zoink kind of game, because it's very much it's very much about the story, and it's a quite different kind of story, and it's told in a new way for us, but it's still very much story based and really wants to tell you something. So that's where it all connects, I think.
Yeah.
I was just curious, is it the same team that made Flipping Death and Stick It to the Man?
Both yes and no. I mean, the team, as I said earlier, like we were only 10 people when we made Stick It to Man, and now we're close to 30. Zoink at the moment is split in two teams, one making Flipping Death and one making Fiha. But part of the Stick It crew is split on both teams. So yeah, it's the same team.
Okay. And I noticed that you're the first EA original title.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, like, is it kind of like a co-publishing then? Like, I couldn't quite decipher what their involvement was like.
Yeah, they're definitely publishing the game.
Yeah. Okay.
But we get complete creative freedom. Of course, they give us feedback and stuff like that, because they have a lot of knowledge, since there have been lots of EA games through history. But they don't tell us what to do with the game. We do our thing, and they handle the publishing for us.
The only thing they added was the loot boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna announce that next week, actually.
Well, it was actually funny, because I was doing a little research on it, and it looked like there was the Swedish connection, because the person heading it, or the spokesperson anyway, had a Swedish name and was kind of in. It seemed like he came from the gaming scene. So I wasn't sure if there was a relationship with Klaus or
Are you referring to Patrick Söderlund, like the EA,
Yeah.
one of the
Yeah.
EA top? Yeah, that's how the whole collaboration came to be, because Klaus wanted to show, he saw so much potential in Fiha, so we wanted to reach out to a really big publisher, and we went for the biggest one. And since EA has offices in Stockholm, we're located in Gothenburg, so he just took a train, it's a few hours from here, showed the game, and Patrick from EA just loved the game, and within a couple of weeks, the whole deal was signed, and they brought Klaus over to LA for the E3 Play thing, which was in last year, and we were this year as well. But last year was the first proper announcement of Fiha, and so it's been like a good relationship from the start. They loved the game, and we were happy to have someone that could help us reach a lot more players than we could ever do on our own.
I remember
so
Klaus
cool.
back from that meeting. He was super excited.
Yeah.
He was like, that was the best meeting I've ever had. And by then it was like EA was pitching EA to me instead of the other way. And yeah, it was really, I think he got a really good reaction when he showed the first demo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's to me, it's great to get the exposure. Like the exposure, I think it might be the most useful because, like before I joined on with NWR, I didn't really purchase too many non-AAA games, and then so once Nintendo started putting a real focus on, the Nindies or whatever they want to see the game it was almost like where have these games been all my life? Like all of a sudden I'm like stacking my Switch full of indie games, and then the first time I saw Flipping Death, I've been like basically watching the release date ever since the first trailer came out, because it just
it's
just
awesome.
Just hearing about the game seems like half the battle,
Yeah,
Totally.
Definitely.
Now we have to wrap things up pretty quickly here. And I would love, so unfortunately we won't be able to give Flipping Death the amount of time it deserves. So we'll have to leave that for a future interview when that comes out. Because it's going to be amazing. I will say that when I played it at PAX, I felt that the platforming was a kind of a step up, the way that you actually use your scythe or scythe or whatever you call it to throw, or your sickle. What do you call it?
Scythe.
Scythe.
Yeah,
Okay.
scythe.
Okay, I'm going to call it a scythe then. You throw that. So I'm really pumped for that game. But right now, everyone should be downloading Stick It to the Man on Switch. I can say that it runs beautifully. I'm always worried about ports and everything. You always hope for the best, but then but I played it personally. It's an amazing port. Works awesome. It runs flawlessly. Handheld, has amazing HD rumble. It's the whole package, and it's hilarious. I think anyone, like, I'm not an adventure game fan, but I love this game because it's more than what it is. Like it's stupid to just define it as an adventure game or a platformer, because it really is a very impressive production in every sense. I mean, it's a very professionally well done, created game.
It's of the full experience genre.
There you go. I like that. But right before we go, quickly, I want to know what your guys' favorite Switch games other than your own game.
Well, if I'm just going to go by the amount of hours I put into a game, I'll say Stardew Valley.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a port, but I really enjoyed it on the Switch, and I think it works really nice there, and it's perfect to have it on the go.
Heck yeah.
Dangerous to have on the go.
Yeah.
I'm going to say SteamWorld Dig. I'm a little biased on this because the SteamWorld Dig 2, because the developers are friends to us and they're just close to us, and we actually work with them. So
yeah, Image and Form is fantastic.
Yeah, but I'm a huge fan of. I love SteamWorld Dig 1 and I love SteamWorld Dig 2, and I had like close to 45 hours in that game, and I almost got everything in that game. So that's my top pick. But I'm actually excited for the game that came out yesterday, at least here in Europe. I'm not sure for the US, but it's called, I might be butchering the pronunciation here, but Urnog Unlimited.
Oh, yeah. I'm actually reviewing that for the site.
Yeah,
I've been playing it, yeah.
Should I get it? Spoiler.
You know what? It's one of those My favorite, my big thing with games is that, it's games that you I didn't really know anything about it, so I went into it, and right now it's kind of like, what the heck's going on? But as it slowly builds and grows, I'm making all these connections, and I'm really enjoying it so far. And it's Ernog Unlimited, what a funny name. But
And also, it's pretty certain it's a Swedish game as well, so we have that local connection.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Alexandra and Mikael, for coming on to the show and talking about your awesome games that you guys get to be a part of.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thanks, David, for joining me as well.
Thank you for having me.
We've got America, Canada, and Sweden, the trifecta. So, will you guys be, are you guys going to be going to all the PAX and stuff?
We'll be going to PAX East and also PlayStation Experience now in December.
Yep.
I think that's the ones we have down for now.
Yeah, the ones that are planned is PlayStation Experience now in December. Alexandra will be there, and PAX East in it's April next year.
Yeah.
Those are the ones we have planned down, but there might be more.
Yeah.
A few local as well, but no big ones is planned at the moment. I'd love to go out to other PAXs as well, but maybe someday.
Yeah, well, me and Casey are going to be at PAX East, so we will for sure see you there. And
we need more in Montreal is what we need, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
PAX North.
PAX North.
PAX
Downtown
Snow.
Montreal.
PAX Snow. But okay, I'm gonna leave it there. Thanks you again, guys, and check out all of our other stuff on our NintendoWorldReport.com. And then, do you guys have anything to plug?
You can follow us on Zoink Games on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube.
Yeah, and Stick It to Man will be out when this podcast is out, and both Fiha and Flipping Death will be out early next year on a lot of platforms.
I'm so excited.
Most importantly, the Switch.
Yes.
I'm so glad it's next year too, because there's too many games right now. So okay, all right.
Not too many for Stick to the Man, though.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. No, I'm saying I couldn't play Stick It to the Man and Flipping Death and Fiha right now. So just Stick It to the Man. All right. I'll see you guys later.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Later, possibly imaginary suckers.
Dagnabbit, I'm dead now? Well, that's an inconvenience for me, but it's not going to shut down my practice. There's still time.